Living off reruns. Here's how much he's making. Actors are paid a salary when their shows are on the air, but did you know that they also get paid when the show ends? If royalties, also known as residuals, are included in an actor's contract, they receive payments when their TV shows or movies air as reruns. They're also paid for video or DVD sales, or if the show or movie is sold to a syndication, such as a streaming service or cable network. If you've always wondered how much actors on your favorite shows make from royalties, you're in luck. Here's a list of how much actors in your favorite shows make from royalties every year. Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld's a great comedian and can always make the audience laugh. He used his humor when creating a fictionalized version of himself for the hit TV show Seinfeld. Seinfeld is a show about nothing, and it's one of the greatest TV shows of all time. The show's finale ended in 1998, and its popularity has transcended to younger generations thanks to reruns and Hulu. Jerry earns $110 million a year in royalties from TV and Hulu, and he doesn't have to do anything except sign the checks. Alda. MASH is a comedy drama unlike any TV show at the time. The show's on an army base during the Korean War and manages to bring some humor to the war, which is a horrifying subject. The characters on the show are doctors and surgeons, and Alda plays Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce, and he was the leading man and the show's chief surgeon. Hawkeye evolved drastically throughout the show's 11 seasons, and by the show's finale he was a kind and respectable man. The producers gave Alan the freedom to merge his own morals and ideals into Hawkeye, making the portrayal of the character more genuine. Alan makes $1 million a year in royalties, and reruns of MASH can be seen on TV Land, AMC, and many other channels. If you've never seen the show, it's worth checking out. Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer holds the record for playing the same character longer than any other actor. He began the role as Dr. Frasier Crane, a psychiatrist, on the hit TV show Cheers. Cheers ran for over 10 years, and Frasier was so loved that he became the focus of a spin-off, Frasier. The show focuses on Frasier, his family, and his job as a radio psychiatrist on talk radio, all while he tries to find the love of his life. Kelsey earned $1.6 million per episode from Cheers and Frasier, and he's still reaping the rewards to this day. He continues to make $13 million in residuals, and if the Frasier reboot is picked up, he could make even more in residuals later. Ted Danson. Ted Danson played ladies' man Sam Malone in the 1980s comedy Cheers. He was a former pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, retired from the game due to troubles with alcohol, and opened a bar in Boston called Cheers. His character was famous for his sexual promiscuity and his will-they, won't-they relationships with Diane Chamber and Rebecca Howe. Ted made $450,000 per episode during the final season, but became tired of playing Sam and decided to move on. The decision didn't hurt the actor financially because he continued acting after leaving Cheers. Also, he makes $5 million in residuals for playing Sam, which is pretty good since he doesn't have to do anything to make those millions. Jim Parsons. Jim Parsons hit the jackpot when he was cast as Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory. Sheldon and his roommate Leonard are nerdy scientists, and their awkward encounters and eccentric behavior made the show a hit. The show premiered on CBS in 2007 and ran for 12 seasons with 279 episodes. When the series ended, Jim Parsons was the highest-paid actor on TV, earning over $1 million per episode. Jim decided to leave the show, which many people found shocking because the show was still a hit, and he was making a fortune. The Big Bang Theory is played a lot in syndication and can be seen on streaming networks, and Jim makes $10 million a year in royalties. Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was a psychologist before becoming a popular talk show host. When Dr. Phil started, the topics focused on things many people deal with daily, such as childhood trauma, loss, and dysfunctional families. As the show became more popular, it evolved and tackled sensational stories, such as people eating odd things. Dr. Phil is still making new shows, and Season 21 premiered in September 2022 and has been renewed through May 2023. Since the show is still airing, we don't know how much he'll get for residuals when the series ends, but According to his contract, Dr. Phil can make up to $10 million in royalties unless he renegotiates his contract, and he could receive more. George Clooney. George Clooney had a few minor roles before his big break on the hit 90s medical drama ER. He stole the hearts of women everywhere with his portrayal of Dr. Doug Ross, a pediatrician. George played Doug Ross for 5 of the show's 15 seasons and went on to become one of the world's highest-paid actors. ER was his breakout role that led to bigger and better things, and he's still making a fortune for his work on ER. George makes $13 million a year in residuals, which is pretty good considering he left the show over 10 years ago. Betty White. Betty White was an iconic actress, and her career spanned 80 years, which is the longest television career in history. She was the longest-living cast member from the hit 80s sitcom Golden Girls, and continued working until her death in 2021. Betty played Rose Nyland on The Golden Girls, and the series hasn't aged. The content's still funny and feels fresh, which is why the show does so well in syndication. Betty made a fortune in royalties when she was alive and received $8 million a year since the show ended in 1992. The money is still coming in today, and the terms of her will determine who her future royalties will go to. Lisa Kudrow. Lisa Kudrow played Phoebe Buffay in one of the greatest sitcoms in history, Friends, alongside Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Matthew Perry, Matt LeBlanc, and David Schwimmer. The show follows the quirky Phoebe and her friends Monica, Rachel, Joey, Chandler, and Ross, a group of 20-somethings living in New York. Nobody involved with Friends predicted the show's success from the start and had no idea that it would continue to be a hit after the series finale premiered on May 6, 2004. When Netflix started airing the show, a new generation of fans was born, and the show continued to be a hit when Netflix dropped it and HBO Max picked it up. The show brings in $1 billion in residuals annually. The 6 main cast members receive 2% of that, and Lisa earns $20 million a year. She's still acting in movies and TV shows and has plenty of money coming in if she chooses to retire. Carol Burnett. Carol Burnett is one of the funniest women in the world, which is why she had her own show, The Carol Burnett Show. She even has a Golden Globe Award named after her, thanks to her accomplishments and skill as an actress and comedian. It's been 40 years since the series finale ended, and people still watch the show today. Sadly, Carol's contract didn't include residuals from reruns and streaming services like many other actors and actresses on this list, and the contract didn't add to her wealth. Carol only makes 1 cent for each DVD sold. Eve Plum. Eve Plum is best known for her role as the middle daughter, Jan Brady, on The Brady Bunch. The show followed the Brady family, the first blended family on television. Carol Brady has 3 daughters, Marcia, Jan, and Cindy, and her second husband, Mike, has 3 sons, Greg, Peter, and Bobby. The sitcom wasn't critically acclaimed then and ended after 5 seasons. It was when the show went into syndication that it became popular and is one of the most popular TV shows in syndication. Sadly, Eve and the rest of the cast don't earn a penny for reruns and marathons. If the cast had someone else negotiating their contracts, they could all be incredibly wealthy today because reruns have often aired over the last 40 years. David Hyde Pierce. David Hyde Pierce has starred in many movies and TV shows, including The Good Wife and A Bug's Life, and he earns royalties from all of them, but none compare to what he makes in royalties for his role in the hit TV comedy Frasier. David played Niles Crane, Frasier's Sherry Swilling psychiatrist brother. He landed the role when the show's execs saw his headshot because he looked like Kelsey Grammer when he was young. The show ended in 2004, and David has earned over $40 million in residuals. Ray Romano. Comedian Ray Romano starred in the hit comedy Everybody Loves Raymond from 1996 through 2005. Ray's character is also named Ray, who lives with his wife, Deborah Barone, and their 3 children. This sounds like your run-of-the-mill family show, but it isn't. Ray's father, his overbearing and intrusive mother, and his younger brother live across the street, which creates stress and chaos in the Barone house. During the show's run, it received rave reviews and was one of the top-rated shows. It's been 17 years since the series finale aired, and it's still a hit. A new generation of people love the show thanks to syndication and streaming services. The show airs in syndication on several networks, including IFC and TV Land, and you can also watch it on Peacock, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Because reruns are on so often, Ray makes $18 million a year in royalties, which is pretty impressive for a show that's been off the air for nearly 2 decades. David Schwimmer. David Schwimmer was a leading cast member of Friends and played Ross Geller. Ross is Monica's brother, and he had a will-they, won't-they relationship with Rachel. Ross was famous for getting married quickly because he was divorced 3 times by the age 30 and never had luck in love. He ended up with Rachel in the series finale, which the fans loved. From the very beginning, the 6 main cast members agreed that they would all be paid the same amount to prevent off-screen financial problems. David's contract is the same as his co-star Lisa Kudrow, and we already talked about her. He receives 2% of the $1 billion a year the show makes in syndication and earns $20 million a year in royalties, just like Lisa and the rest of the lead cast. John Goodman. John Goodman is famous for his role as Dan Connor in Roseanne for 9 seasons from 1988 to 1997. The show was unique because it was the first to follow a blue-collar family that always struggled to make ends meet. The show followed Dan Connor, his wife Roseanne, and their children, Becky, Darlene, DJ, and later baby Jerry. The show tackled some serious and controversial topics during its run, and it was one of the most popular sitcoms on TV. The show still runs in syndication on TV Land and CMT and the streaming service Peacock, earning John $1 million a year in syndication. A reboot of the show aired in May 2018. Roseanne was fired from the show after making racial comments about President Obama's former aide, Valerie Jarrett, on Twitter. The tweet referred to Valerie as the offspring of the Muslim Brotherhood in Planet of the Apes, which led to her being fired immediately. And the Roseanne reboot ended. A year later, the show returned without Roseanne and was renamed The Connors, and the writers killed Roseanne off after an overdose of prescription pills. Connors is still on today, and John will likely receive royalties from that show as well. Ed O'Neill. Today, Ed O'Neill is best known for his role as Jay Pritchett on Modern Family. But before Modern Family, he was best known for his role on the hit TV comedy Married with Children. The show ran from 1987 through 1997, and Ed played Al Bundy. The show followed Al, a miserable shoe salesman, his couch potato, Peggy, his promiscuous daughter, Kelly, and his son, Bud. Thanks to the cast and raunchy comedy, the show was top-rated but received plenty of complaints from the conservative public. Reruns of Married with Children can be seen on TV and streaming networks, including Peacock, Hulu, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Ed could be living off reruns. Here's how much he's making. Ed makes $10 million in royalties. Now that Modern Family has ended and can be seen in TV reruns and streaming networks, Ed's making much more.